All of my longtime viewers and subscribers, stay tuned to the end of this video. The channel surpassed another milestone last night. We're over 75,000 subscribers now. In keeping with channel tradition, I will express my appreciation and gratitude to you guys for making the channel the success that it is. I'll also share a personal story of the journey along the way to 75,000. And I'm also gonna run an idea by you guys to get your thoughts on it. But first, let's go ahead and get to Jimmy Fallon. All good things must come to an end. Nothing is too big to fail. Just because something's been around for decades doesn't mean it's going to last forever. MTV, for example. MTV used to have a massive impact on American culture. There was no other network on television that reached American youth like MTV. During the peak of Jersey Shore, the show was averaging 9 million viewers. 9 million on cable television. The real world would pull in 2, 3, maybe 4 million. The Challenge, Jackass, TRL, Yo MTV Rap. For decades, MTV produced so many hit shows, I can't even remember all of them. But over the last few years, MTV has went from averaging millions of viewers. MTV went from having substantial influence over American youth to being completely irrelevant. I'm sure a lot of you guys have young kids or teenagers. How many of your teenagers are watching MTV? Another medium that used to reach the younger demographic was the medium of late night television. When I was growing up in the 90s, Jay Leno, David Letterman, Conan O'Brien, that was appointment television we watched every night. Before Leno, Johnny Carson was the king of late night. Jay Leno passed the torch to Jimmy Fallon, and for a couple of years, Fallon was the king of late night. Before his transition from Jimmy to Jim Fallon, the dude was responsible for some classic segments. History of Rap with Justin Timberlake, Camp Wanatuck or Camp Watahuchi or Camp whatever the fuck. This was another segment with Justin Timberlake where they pretended to be prepubescent boys at summer camp. Now, obviously, this segment is now antiquated. There's no need for grown men to pretend to be prepubescent boys when we have a larger-than-life prepubescent boy in Megan Rapinoe. The harsh reality of it is Jimmy Fallon's career in late-night television, it's over. And it has nothing to do with the report that was released by the Rolling Stone earlier this week. It's got nothing to do with the predictable public apology from Jim Fallon that followed. Oh, peaches and cucumbers, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never realized my aggression was hurting your feelings. Oh, feelings. Please give me a chance to caress your feelings in a safe space. There is no amount of apologizing that can save the career of Jim Fallon. And look. He's not the only Jim whose late night career is coming to an end. Jimmy the Kimmel, his career's on life support. The late night career of Stephen Colbert will be right behind him. Do you guys remember when Travis Noah left The Daily Show a failure on Comedy Central? If I remember correctly, the excuse, or one of the excuses that he gave for leaving was he wanted to pursue other opportunities in late night. Now, have you guys ever wondered why Travis hasn't secured another job? Have you ever wondered why Chelsea the coat handler hasn't been given another opportunity in late night? Chelsea the coat handler, she is so desperate for an opportunity, she's willing to work for free. The reason these huge embarrassing failures have not been given opportunities, networks are getting out of the business of late night television. 10 or 15 years ago, there were a plethora of shows in late night. Networks like TBS and E, they were airing late night shows. Comedy Central, obviously the big three broadcast networks. Both TBS and E, they completely abandoned the genre. Comedy Central is trying to revive The Daily Show a failure for reasons unknown. Show hadn't been relevant since Jon Stu left in 2015. Who is the host of The Daily Show right now? I bet the vast majority of you guys couldn't name them. Last I checked, Comedy Central was still testing a panel of huge embarrassing failures, trying to convince one of these failures to take over this dump. But it's not only cable networks that are abandoning the genre of late night television. Major broadcast networks are doing the same. All three major broadcast networks, they are contemplating getting out of the genre of late night. And CBS, they've already started the process. Earlier this year, CBS announced that they were canceling the Late Late Show a failure with James Corden. Now, Jamie C claimed that he was leaving the show on his own, which is probably true, but even if he wanted to stay, the show was getting canceled either way. James Corden was making $4 million a year. Now, that might seem like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money to entertain dozens of lonely men, but Jamie C's salary is low compared to other late night hosts. Even with his minimum wage salary in comparison to other failures, James Corden, he was losing $20 million every year for CBS. $20 million! Now, I'm no Pythagoras. I'm no expert in math, but even I know that is not sustainable, and it wasn't. After 30 years on the air, CBS canceled the show. But that's only the beginning. Over the next 5 years, I think we are going to see every late night show get canceled, and I think it's going to start with Jimmy Fallon. But KC, The Tonight Show is the originator. There's no way NBC cancels The Tonight Show. I know it seems unfathomable, but when you look at the numbers, it's just not possible for late night to continue. For starters, Jim Fallon ranks dead last in the ratings. The Tonight Show went from being number one for decades to occupying the Bruce caboose. This show's gotten so bad under Jim Fallon, he is consistently beaten in the ratings by Jimmy the Kimmel, one of the poster childs for embarrassing failure, the man who is known for being obsessed with his partner in the butt bongo, Howie Stern. Grown men no longer relate to Jim Kim. We used to. When he hosted the Man Show and acted like an actual dude, Jim Kimmel was relatable. Today, if he's not emotionally apologizing for his white privilege, he's recycling old jokes about Donald Trump. Orange Man bad. The reason Jimmy Fallon was successful, the reason he remained number one through his first couple of years, Fallon refused to get too political. Colbert and Kimmel, they were pilling the orange, but for a while, Jimmy Fallon kept The Tonight Show lighthearted. Around 2017, he decided to jump on the Trump train, and he rode the Trump train directly into the pooper. One of the many reasons that late night television is failing, they have ostracized over half the country. According to Mythbusters, 95% of the guests on late night TV are woke shitfucks, which is the reason 95% of the country has turned it off. 10 years ago, the duo of Jimmys and Colbert, they were combining for around 10 million viewers every night. Last year, they barely combined for 3 million. Back in 2018, The Tonight Show with Jim Fallon generated $334 million in ad revenue. Last year, all three shows combined generated $342 million. Are you noticing the trend here? These guys are making $10-15 million every year. Late night TV is very expensive to produce. We're talking budgets in the hundreds of millions. Networks have to pay to bring in guests, private airfare, 5-star hotels. There are hundreds of people working on these shows behind the scenes. Expenses are going up while revenue and ratings rapidly declining. NBC doesn't need some damaging report from Rolling Stone to end the late night career of Jim Fallon. NBC has plenty of financial reason to do so. The genre of late night television is antiquated. In the past, if celebrities wanted to promote their latest project, late night was the go-to platform. Millions of people were watching. More importantly, millions of young people were watching. How do young people consume content today? Hell, how does just about everyone consume content today? YouTube, podcasts, TalkTick. You could combine the audience of this trio of failures in late night. They would not come close to the reach of Joe Rogan. Earlier this year, it was reported that executives at NBC regret bringing back Jimmy Fallon. Now, he's under contract until 2026, and to be honest with you, I don't see how he makes it through this contract. It would be cheaper for NBC to buy him out or just continue paying him through the contract than to continue producing The Tonight Show. The late night party, it's over. It's going to start with Fallon. I think Jim Kimmel will be next, and eventually Stephen Colbert will be resting next to them in the woke cemetery. NBC could air reruns of Seinfeld and Friends in this same time slot and make substantially more money. But there's a lesson to be learned here. This is what happens when you turn your back on your audience. This is what happens when you ostracize over half the country. Eventually, late night television, it was going to end either way. All the networks and this trio of doofus hosts did was hasten their own demise. All right, Before we get out of here, I wanted to take a minute to thank you guys for your continued support of the channel. Last night, we surpassed 75,000 subscribers. Now, it took us longer to reach this milestone than it has in the past because I think the algorithms changed a bit here on YouTube. Over the past few weeks, it seems that YouTube has been promoting newer and smaller channels over the more established channels, which that is perfectly fine. That's fair. Smaller channels, they should be given the opportunity to grow their audience. Eventually, though, things will go back to normal. Well, like I said the other day, you guys are the reason the channel survives during these downturns. During this latest downturn, I have seen channels with 2, 3, 400,000 subscribers getting 2, 3, 4,000 views on some of their videos. Now, for the most part, we have been able to stay between 10 and 20,000. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and your support. I'll be honest with you. I've been feeling a little bit down about this downturn over the last couple of weeks. It's not easy watching your analytics decline by 30 and 40%, and there's just absolutely nothing you can do about it. All I can do is continue creating content and ride out the storm. I was wallowing in my self-pity the other day, acting like a little entitled shitfuck, when I received a call from one of my longtime friends. I think I told you guys about this call the other day. Long story short, he was venting to me about his job, about how miserable he was at work, and how that misery was spilling over into his marriage and every other facet of his life. He wants to start his own side hustle, his own business, maybe even his own YouTube channel. He's got all kinds of ideas. He was basically calling me to ask what I would do in the same situation. Now, you guys already know the advice that I gave. Quit your job. I will always tell people to quit their shitty jobs to pursue their own dreams, as long as they're prepared to do so, obviously. But this call reminded me of how fortunate and blessed that I am. The worst downturns here on YouTube, that is nothing compared to the miserable life that I used to have. You know how your phone will put together these compilations of old pictures and then notify you about it? I was looking through one of these compilations the other day. It was pictures from 2018 to around 2020. I could see the misery and stress in my eyes. When I tell you that I hated going to work every day, I hated it. I couldn't even enjoy my vacations or my weekends because I knew another Monday was just around the corner. When I was talking my friend off the ledge the other day, I told him to use all of his vacation. I think he had 3 weeks left. I said, use all your vacation, all 3 weeks during the month of December, consecutive back to back. Reason being, having 3 consecutive weeks off in a row like that, it gives you time to reflect and see how your life could actually be if you didn't have a miserable job. When I took 3 consecutive weeks off in December of 2020, those were the best 3 weeks of my life to that point. My former company was pissed. I did not care. For the first time in years, I was happy I had no stress or worries. I focused 100% of my time and efforts on what I really wanted to do. Grow this channel. I know some of you guys are in the same predicament that my friend's in right now and that I was in for years. I know it's incredibly difficult to walk away from a steady paycheck, that security. You worry about health insurance, you worry about that bi-weekly income, but that's how the system is designed. Public schools are designed to train employees, not entrepreneurs. Public schools are designed to train workers, not owners. We have been ingrained with this twisted mentality that we need a job. Keyword, need. Since adolescence, they have trained us to believe that we need someone else to provide for us instead of just relying on yourself. What you need is a passion, and you find a way to monetize it. It has never been easier to work for yourself. It's never been easier to be an entrepreneur. The only hurdle that's stopping most people is this societal expectation that you're supposed to go to work for someone else every day in order to be successful. If you're anything like me, you probably struggle waking up every morning to go to work. I was constantly late because I couldn't force myself out of bed in the morning. Today, I could sleep until noon if I wanted. My eyes are wide open at 6 o'clock in the morning. I wake up every morning excited in the best mood because I'm doing what I want to do, and I have all of you guys to thank for that. Thank you so much for supporting me. I am blessed to have each and every one of you. And look. I realize not everyone is cut out to work for themselves. Some people are risk averse. Some people are more comfortable being employees, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm talking to the people who dream of controlling their own destiny, but they're just afraid to take the leap for one reason or another. All right. I know some of you guys have asked in the past about channel memberships. I've always been very reluctant to do this because I just don't like taking your money. I feel like the content should always be offered for free, and it always will be. But I was thinking of maybe adding some incentives to the membership to make it worth it. I know YouTube will give you those little comment badges, but I was thinking of maybe doing something like offering personalized video messages, maybe for birthdays or anniversaries or special events, or for no reason at all. Or, something like what they do on, I think it's called Cameo. I would just offer the memberships here on YouTube. I don't know. I haven't looked too much into it just yet. It was just a thought. If you guys have any ideas for it, feel free to let me know. Also, give me your thoughts on Jim Fallon and the future of late night television. I think late night is extinct here in the next 5 years. What about you? Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, you know the drill. Share the video. I'll see you guys tomorrow.